I'm your Jesus-loving and potty host, L.A. Sprague. Welcome to Christians with Chronic Illnesses. I am so excited to introduce Seth Noorzad to you, everybody. Seth,
Hello.
why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, thanks for having me, LA. And yeah, I'm Seth. I'm 32. I live in Santa Barbara, California. Let's see about me. I grew up in Santa Barbara. I'm an attorney by trade. Been an attorney for about 5 years now. But as a kid, I really loved to play music. I played the viola growing up in high school.
The viola.
And
What is a viola?
a viola, it's like a violin. It's a fifth lower than a
Okay.
violin. And it
Okay.
plays the alto part in like an orchestra or an ensemble or something. So you
Yeah.
also play it under your chin like a violin.
Okay. Is it like the same size too?
It's just a little bit bigger, and I have kind of big hands, so it
Yeah.
was kind of a good fit for me.
Nice. Yeah, that's really fun. Did you play throughout like high school and middle school and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, I started when I was like 10, and I started on the violin, but quickly I was like 11. I switched to the viola, and yeah, I had a really good teacher when I was like 11. So some of my best memories are like going for lessons and
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that that's like some of your highlights of your childhood. That's very pure.
yeah, yeah, I definitely hold on to like
Mm.
those memories kind of sometimes when it's like things are a little dreary. It's like pull out some of those good childhood feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wise. Good. I think that's a good coping technique.
Yeah,
So you play instruments, you play piano, viola, anything else?
that's pretty much it. I can play the violin, but I don't do it as much.
Nice. Would you consider yourself like proficient?
Somewhat.
Okay. You do writing with those things, or do you just read and play?
And good question. I've never been that good of an improviser actually. I always like read the music as written,
Yeah.
and what I really liked to play as a kid was like chamber music, like for musicians playing like Mozart was my favorite.
Oh, any favorite number of his?
It's a good question. There's a trio that Mozart wrote for violin, viola, and cello. It's called the Divertimento. It's in E flat major. But I had two childhood friends, like the lessons were at her house, and it was four kids, three girls and a boy, and one of the girls played cello and one played violin. We all had the same teacher. So we would go for the lessons, and then sometimes afterward we would play that piece.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like I did choir, and I was in like worship bands and stuff, growing up. But there's nothing quite like that feeling of unity and creating together and playing together.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And singing is so much fun, like getting to be like in the group and adding to the resonance and the sound.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree for sure. So, what else do you do? You're a bit creative. It's interesting hearing that you're an attorney and a musician, right? So it's like a very logical route and then a very like creative route. So, do you have any other creative endeavors that you pursue?
Well, I started doing creative writing, but it's like totally new. I just started in the summer.
Summer 2025?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. I didn't realize that was recent for you. That's awesome. You
Yeah,
want to
it's
give
brand
your
new.
shameless plug for your channel?
Yeah. Yeah. I've actually started posting on Threads a lot. That's just the one that has kind of emerged, but it's good. like you can post things a little longer than X, and so it's good for poems and stuff. But I've started just writing little poems and posting it on my Threads channel. My channel is Noorzad Seth, so NoorzadSeth.
Sweet. Yeah, everybody, you should go follow him. I followed him. Pretty cool stuff. So, highly recommend. Hopefully, you'll have a piece to read us today, if you want to. But,
Okay.
okay, sweet. So, an attorney. And what got you interested into being an attorney? That's unique.
Yeah. Well, I took like a few years between, so I graduated college and then I was like an Uber driver for a while. I worked in like an Amazon warehouse. I didn't like plan on being an attorney really when I was in college or anything, but I watched this documentary on Netflix called Making a Murderer. Have you seen it?
Mm-mm.
It was about this guy in Wisconsin, Stephen Avery, but he had been wrongly convicted of some crime and then he was exonerated. And like right when he got out, he was indicted for a murder charge. And so he was like facing prison, like right
Mm.
again after like this battle or whatever. But the documentary was about his murder trial, the second trial, and it focused a lot on his defense attorneys. He had two defense attorneys, and nobody really knows, whether he was guilty or not. A lot of people think he was innocent, but I
Mm.
just really enjoyed watching the defense attorneys. And I watched the documentary, and like that's when I got the idea. I was like, oh, like maybe I could do that. That seems kind of meaningful.
Oh, wow. Movie really impacted you.
Yeah, yeah. You ever watch something where when it's done, you're kind of like changed a little
Oh,
bit?
absolutely. Yes, definitely. Or read a book. Yep.
Yep.
That's actually, I used to want to be a missionary. And I mean, it's still, part of my heart. But now that my name's out there and I just said missionary online, chances are anyways, but I used to want to be a missionary, and a big part of that was because of the book Killing Christians by Tom Doyle. And that completely changed my life. I read that 10 years ago and
Wow.
totally changed my life. So I can feel you there where, just one piece of good media and your whole life. Like, I think especially for creatives like ourselves, like I also love like music and things like that. Like I have music out. And I think that's why we love producing as well, is because we've been so deeply affected by media ourselves that, you know, we want to impact other people too.
Hmm.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey with Christ? You are a bit newer to the Catholic faith, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Tell us more about that.
Kind of the background, like I was 16 and I took a class called Political Theory, and we read Plato's Republic. And there was like, I was not Christian at the time, so I was raised kind of, my parents were like Hindu, Buddhist, like New Age kind of
Mm-hmm.
leaning. So I was kind of taught like all religions are valid. Like religion is kind of generally good, but like definitely not very orthodox at all.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I read this book and it had this amazing idea. It was like justice is the health of the soul. And for some reason, I read that and I was like really inspired, kind of captivated by it. Like the idea that you could like live for your soul and somehow I think at the time I was like I had a lot of like existential thoughts as like a kid, like what is the purpose of like living? Why are we here? Or is the world good kind of? And definitely a lot of like hardship and like disappointment too that like I was trying to wrestle with, and I was always sort of philosophical. So like this book it was kind of it was giving me a way to think that was kind of helping me cope kind of like philosophically, like what's something that I can believe in that gives me, hope. But I didn't even look at the Christian faith until much later. I was like 29 or 30. So like I
Mm.
kind of was thinking about Plato and like had thought about it over the years and like kind of shelved it a little bit. But I was 29 and I watched this movie that I had seen so many times as a kid but hadn't seen since, and it was The Prince of Egypt.
Yeah.
Do you like that
I
movie?
love that movie. One of my favorites. I watched it on repeat all the time when I was like 14. I'm so serious.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Such a good movie.
Yeah, my favorite movie.
Hmm.
But I hadn't realized that it was the story of the Jews leaving Egypt when I was a kid. And I watched it again and I was like, wow, this is the story of the Jews leaving Egypt. And it put an idea in my head. I was like, what's the source material for this story? And I was like, well, it must be the Bible. So that's when I first started reading the Bible.
Because of the
Uh,
Prince of Egypt?
yeah.
That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. DreamWorks did not intend this, but I'm so grateful it happened.
So that's how it all started. And kind of, I was reading it and it was like, okay, God splits the Red Sea, kind of shows his awesome power. And then there's like this middle period and there's like animal sacrifice and like really minute descriptions of like how to build the tabernacle, like down to the kind of wood and the measurements. And
Yeah.
but I learned about kind of the God of the Jews, and I finished it and I was like, well, maybe I want to like, like worship this God.
Hmm.
And that was the beginning where it was like this kind of like more orthodox form of religion appeals to me somehow, and I didn't really know why. So that was the beginning. And at first, I looked at Islam for a long time. I read the Quran, and it was like very beautiful and very like clear also in a way.
Hmm.
Like it was so freeing to see a book that says like do this, do this, do this. It was
Hmm.
like here's like a moral imperative for you to follow.
Hmm.
And so I read it and it seemed like kind of the natural like continuation almost of the Old Testament.
Hmm.
And so I kind of flirted with it for like a year.
Yeah.
And I got ill
Mm.
and shelved it for a little bit. But the first year of illness was kind of the worst.
Mm.
And
Sorry
it
to
was
hear that.
harder. Yeah. Yeah. The first year was definitely, definitely like the worst. I've gotten better since the
Good.
beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was so bad that I was like looking for something. I was like, do I need fire insurance or like, so it was like, all right, I have to find wherever this is. And I
Hmm.
was like, well, Islam, though beautiful and important to me somehow,
Hmm.
it was more intuitive. It was like, I was at the point where it was like, do I profess this faith? And for whatever reason, I didn't. And I was like, well, where else do I look? And so then I went to church for the first time. I went to a Lutheran church.
And you enjoyed the Lutheran setting or no?
I did. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. I remember one of the first services I went to, they played like Handel's Messiah, and then it was the Alleluia, and everybody stood, and I was like, oh, what a relief to be
Oh, you loved
certain
like
to stand for God.
oh, that's so cool. You liked the unity in the format and you said standing for God.
Yeah, it felt so different from, the secular way things are.
Huh. That's really cool. Okay. So you went to Lutheran church. You loved the Alleluias and the standing for God. What else? Thank you so much for spending your precious time with Christians with chronic illnesses. Your support means more to us than we can even describe. If you have a desire to donate or join a subscription for Christians with chronic illnesses, please see links in the show notes below.
I talked to the pastor once. He gave me like a little book. It was like a mix of pictures and writing. It was like almost for children, like trying to like talk about the faith in like a really easy way.
How'd you
And it
feel
was like
about that? Was that like was that like insulting, or were you like, oh thanks, this is nice and comprehensive?
I was like, thanks. Yeah, like can someone help me understand this? Because I don't quite get it.
Yeah.
I like it, but I don't understand it.
Yeah.
There was a page in it, there was Jesus, and it was saying like this is where our God meets us, like suffering, dying. And I was like, okay, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, just like the word Catholic like came into my mind. I was like, it wasn't anything I read. It was just like whatever, like look here.
Yeah.
And I just emailed, I was like to my parish, I was like, can I talk to the RCIA person? Like RCIA is like the Rite of Christian Initiation for adults for the Catholic Church.
Okay.
And we met at like diner, and he brought his breviary, which is like the written form for the Liturgy of the Hours. So it's like the public prayer of the church. Like if you're in like a monastery or something, the monks will offer that prayer 7 times a day.
Okay.
And he was explaining to me that it was a public prayer. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And he showed it to me. And to me, that I was like, oh, okay, this is like Islam. Like one thing that really attracted me about Islam was praying 5 times a day, like in kind of a liturgical form. And so he showed me the Liturgy of the Hours, and I was like, oh, I can do this in the Catholic religion. Okay, I'm going to do it.
Aww.
And then I just kept doing it.
Yeah. So what is in the Liturgy of the Hours that, is there any like, was any of the prayer specifically appealing to you?
It was, well, it's Psalms. I think there's 3 Psalms in the morning and evening prayers. And I didn't really even know like what was in them at the time. Like what appealed to me about it was that it was like a public prayer. Like it was a form of worship that was public and almost attached to the church in a way.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, that like was really calling my heart, kind of. Like when I was sick, before I like found religion, I was like looking at things I could do to somehow like participate, I guess, like in humanity. Like I was like, should I get a flagpole? And like I was looking at like the Code of Federal Regulations for like how to like raise it and like lower it. And I was like, if I'm so sick, I can't do anything. Like at least I'll do the flag.
That's awesome. I love that.
I guess I just have a weird kind of mind like that.
You just wanted to participate. You wanted to contribute to society in some way. Yeah, that's totally understandable. That's not weird at all. That's totally understandable.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think if, if the only thing in your reach is to, contribute to your nation, I guess, or was it, what kind of flag? Like
like an American flag.
Yeah. Like if that's what you feel like, if you feel like you're gonna contribute to society that way, and that's the only thing in your reach, that's great. I think it's actually should maybe show something about the kind of person you are, that you thought, even in your sickness, you're like, I need some way to connect. I need some way to benefit others. So even if it's, I'm so sick, all I can do is go to my front yard and raise this flag. Like, I think that shows about, the kind of person that you are. I think that's a
Oh,
good
thank
thing.
you.
Yeah, of course. I think
Yeah.
to most it sounds strange, but I think if you really think about it, that's a positive thing about you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for getting that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay, so you now like would you say you're a professing Catholic? Are you kind of like still exploring? Where are you at now with your faith and your, belief in God and all that?
Definitely professing Catholic. Yeah. It's become a big part of my life. And
Mm,
yeah,
yeah.
something to kind of focus on apart from work or other things. Just like, okay, like I do my faith. I'm part of the church.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really awesome. I'm so happy that you found that connection and that meaning, amidst your sickness. That's so important. And I'm really happy to hear that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us more about, if you're open to it, your sicknesses. Yeah, what were you diagnosed with?
Yeah. So the only diagnosis that I have is for Hashimoto's thyroiditis.
Mm.
So I got blood work done and it's autoimmune thyroid. And then the other thing that I have is MECFS, which is myalgic encephalomyelitis. It's like myalgic encephalomyelitis slash chronic fatigue syndrome. That's what they call it. Kind of
Okay.
a weird name, but that one I don't have a diagnosis for. But I
Mm.
was so sick. I was like, what's kind of going on with me? And kind of on the internet, just looking up what could this possibly be. And I was like reading about the description of that and what some other people were experiencing. I'm like, yeah, kind of,
Mm.
this is kind of what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So for that first one that you do have a diagnosis for, what is that? You said it's a type of Hashimoto's, is that what you said?
Yeah, it's autoimmune. So like my immune system is like attacking my thyroid, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, I got sick like immediately. It was like this crash. It was like one day I woke up and I was kind of different.
Mm.
And those first couple months, like, were just like hell. I didn't know what was going on and I couldn't really like sleep anymore. And then the lack of sleep was kind of causing me to sort of degrade pretty quickly. And so I went to the doctor and then they did the blood work and they were like, well, you have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And they gave me a medication. It's called NP thyroid, but it's like replacement thyroid hormone. So my thyroid doesn't work at full capacity. But once I started on that, I got a boost, and that was the first thing where I kind of started to level out and I started feeling better.
So do you have to take regular, what are they, thyroid hormone? What were they?
Like a pill that I take every morning. It's just like
Okay.
replacing once I'm on a medication now that kind of keeps me a little bit more stable.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good to hear. So do you know, like, what does the thyroid do that's important, that's lacking in your body?
Yeah, well, I had to kind of learn about it, but I guess the thyroid is sort of like the central organ in your like endocrine system, like adrenals, thyroid. They all like work together. They're like connected, I guess. Like they
Mm.
help you like go to sleep and wake up and produce hormones, but the whole thing just got kind of whacked out from stress and
Hmm.
everything. So now it's much more delicate, and the medication kind of keeps it a little more stable.
Yeah. So you said that stress made it more delicate? Do you know like how that affected it?
Well, for me, kind of the way I got ill, I'm almost sure it was stress, just and like chronic stress over like a couple of years. I got out of law school and just trying to get my first job and
Yeah.
whole career going. That's when I was like, the stress hit kind of really hard.
Yeah. Wow, that's so like what not humbling, sobering. It's sobering to hear that being overstressed could cause a chronic illness.
I know. I know.
Wow. So what is Hashimoto's? You said it's like your immune system is basically attacking your thyroid, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I, th- it may have been that I was so like always on all the time that the thyroid was like working too hard, and then
Mm.
the system thinks it's something foreign and it starts to attack it.
Wow. Wow. That's horrible.
It's the
Yeah.
worst.
Yeah. So, how did you what were your symptoms that you started realizing that something was wrong?
Just total like loss of strength, like that like kind of edge, that last like 30-40% of like the strength that I used to have like wasn't there anymore. I couldn't get it, if I was like at the gym, I couldn't do it when I was focusing. It was like that last 30-40% of like
Wow.
energy was just gone.
Wow. That's a significant amount. Yeah. So you realize, okay, my energy is running out. You're getting tired quicker. Um, okay. So then what was your next step? When did you think, okay, I'm going to see a doctor, or I'm going to do research? What did that look like?
At first I just tried to like push through it. I'm like, okay, like this will fix itself. Like this will be temporary, like, right, like I'll get back to where I was eventually. It might take some healing or whatever. So at first it was kind of like pushing myself, and then yeah.
Sure, that
um
helped.
no, no, it didn't help.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're pushing yourself, and that wasn't helping.
No, no, it didn't help. I saw like holistic medicine person, and like they were like, all right, do like Hashimoto's diet, like anti-inflammatory, which was healthy, but it didn't really help. A lot of people get Hashimoto's from like diet, and like diet like might really help them but for me it was like it was good for me, but it wasn't stabilizing
Yeah.
really. Yeah, it was just sort of a process of I'd go a couple months, and then just kind of existing where my body now was what brought me up sort of to the next level.
So then did you see like a certain doctor after that, after the holistic doctor?
I kept going. I was like getting blood work and stuff. Like some of my levels were kind of off now. Like the testosterone like had like plummeted.
Mm.
Some other markers were off, and like didn't really know what to do. So I kept going. I was taking some supplements. Some of them helped. I remember there was one supplement I took. It was like a supplement to decrease like candida, and that helped quite a bit. But there was never anything a doctor gave me apart from the thyroid medication that ever was like a huge boost. The thyroid medication really helped, but I
Yeah.
never took a pill or anything else other than that one that really brought me up at all.
Yeah. Do you mind sharing the name of your thyroid medication?
Yeah, it's called NP thyroid.
Okay. And that's helped you a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that. So, did you get your diagnosis through the blood tests?
for Hashimoto's. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm glad that they were able to indicate that through a blood test. Did you was this something you suggested, or that they just did a plethora of labs and figured it out?
Yeah, they just did everything. I didn't know anything about what it was or
Yeah.
what for.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy to hear that that's helped a lot. But it sounds like also you were realizing, okay, I have, Hashimoto's and that attacks my thyroid. The thyroid pill's helping. But then you realize also, like you said, you have this ME/CFS. So I would love to hear more about maybe how did you realize that it might be more than the Hashimoto's?
Well, I got the Hashimoto's diagnosis and kind of asking questions. I'm like, is this really what this is? It feels really bad. And they're like, okay, like, well, we're giving you what we have, sort of. And it was just by poking around on the internet, I knew something was very wrong. And
Hmm.
then I came across MECFS and I just started looking and I'm like, oh, whoa, this is probably like what this is, kind
Yeah.
of.
So, what are some of the symptoms that you're experiencing that was like, okay, this is really like a problem that had you diving into that? And what are the symptoms that you sympathize with in that MCCFS?
It's like my body is just at a different level. It's almost like the energy is like smaller than it once was. So like previously, like the engine was good, it could supply all the power that the body needs, and now the engine is like much smaller. It's like 30% of what it was.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Wow. So you went from full energy or your normal sustained energy to, okay, my last 30-40% are kind of gone to now 30% of what it used to be.
Yeah,
Wow. That would be a lot to cope with.
it was. It was,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what is MECFS?
Well, they're kind of doing like some research on it because a lot of people have been coming up with it and they don't even have like a reliable like blood marker or any sort of like tangible kind of thing you can look at and say, oh, you have it.
Right.
It's more they look at like your energy levels over 6 months and like how tired you are. And
Hmm.
so they don't even quite know what it is, but it's this thing that lots of people are sort of turning up with now.
Yeah. Because my doctor suggested I also have chronic fatigue syndrome. So I've also been diagnosed with that. But what is the ME part of it?
Myalgic encephalomyelitis. I think what it means is some kind of nervous system
Okay.
problem.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. So what were the main things that you related with that you read and you're like, this is me, like to a T? What were those things?
Just people talking about kind of being like totally changed, like just different reality in your body. Oh, some people were talking about adrenal fatigue too. That one was like another name for it that was going around.
Yeah. Yeah. That's hard. So how would you explain like, to people listening who are wondering, okay, what's the difference between like being tired versus having ME, chronic fatigue syndrome? How would you explain the difference there? Because you've been an adult who's been tired, but you've also been an adult who's chronically ill. What did you feel like is the difference?
It's really hard to explain to people. That's one of the weird things.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, you can relate to that.
Hmm.
I can feel the difference, but I think when I was healthy, I wouldn't have been able to fully understand this really. But
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
different reality in the body.
Yeah.
It's like it's like the it's like the nervous system needs a certain amount of energy to like feel good and like stay sort of like supple and resilient. And then the energy system inside dies a little bit and it's like
Mm-hmm.
just little sputters of energy and it can't fuel the nervous system and then the nervous system gets agitated, so it's like your nervous system is kind of in this constant state of agitation and you can't quite get the rest to always like recover anymore.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Have you heard of the spoon theory, Seth?
Yeah,
Okay, cool. Would you like to explain that to the audience, or would you like me to give it a shot?
why don't you go?
Okay, so forgive me if this is overused, and I'm probably not the most eloquent, but okay, so the spoon theory. So let's say most people start, like the average adult, I don't know, starts with 10 spoons a day, for average person, healthy, you have 10 spoons a day. So spoons represent energy. So when you go for a run, maybe that's a spoon of energy. Whenever you hang out with friends, maybe that's a spoon. Whenever you go to school, maybe that's one more. Whenever you know, whenever you get ready for the day, whenever you eat meals, things like that, right? Whatever takes energy, maybe that's a spoon, maybe that's half a spoon, maybe that's the quarter of a spoon. But at the end of the day, you only have 10. And so sometimes, whether you're healthy or not, you might overwork yourself and realize, oh, I worked out for 3 hours on my long school day. And so now I'm exhausted and I have no energy, even though it's only, 8 p.m. to do the rest of my homework. Well, that's because you overdid yourself. You used all of your 10 spoons by overworking yourself at the gym, So for a healthy person, that's kind of what that looks like. Well, for you, Seth, let's say, before you were diagnosed or developed these chronic illnesses, you had 10 spoons a day. And then once you started realizing you had Hashimoto's, all of a sudden you realized, oh, 3 of my spoons are gone. Every day, like you just wake up one day and all of a sudden 3 of those are gone. Which means now you have to balance your work and your school and your friendships and your working out and eating and making meals and shopping and living a normal life now with 3 less spoons than everyone. So if someone, who might have exhausted themselves by 8 p.m. for working out at the gym too long, you might have exhausted yourself out by 8 p.m. by not even working out at all, just as you have less spoons. Well, now, even more so with your chronic fatigue syndrome, what went from 7 spoons maybe now is 4 spoons. And so you are having to figure out and decide every day, how do you interact? What can you do today with the little amount of energy that you have? And the difficult thing with chronic illnesses is that, that can often ebb and flow. So some days you might have 6 spoons. I'm not sure how it is for you, but in general, a lot of people with chronic illnesses, maybe one day they even have 10 spoons again. But in general, they're kind of living on the, less spoons than everybody else, or their spoons just get used up way faster. So anyways, I'm not sure if you feel that spoon theory helps you maybe, express that. But that's the general thing that people with chronic illness use, is that's how it's different.
Good explanation. Yeah. It pretty much hits the nail on the head. It's exactly how it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've heard too, other people, I'm not sure how you feel about this, other people feel like their exhaustion is different than it used to be. Maybe at the end of the day, they used to be tired, or a really hard day, really tired. But in general, now it's just like they are exhausted, So I talked to someone recently who had, leukemia, and she said, she would get up and walk a few steps, and she was so exhausted, that's all she could do. So yeah, it's just different.
Yeah, I can relate. Like, it's like the spoons is like the energy, and you have fewer of them, and then also the rest and like how you get more spoons is also impacted. So it's like you're regulating like your spoons, and then at the same time you're trying to regulate your rest. So like get more of them almost change.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and sometimes you have to like look ahead, like yeah. It's tricky. So how different does your life look now that you're chronically ill than before? Like, does your career look any different? Do your friendships look any different?
Yeah, it all looks different. And sometimes I feel like it looks more different from me looking in than like on the other side. Like, I think sometimes like friends or like people that I work for might see that it's the same. But for me, it feels different because it's like what I'm doing is trying to use my spoons to like maintain the continuity of like, the friendships or the work or the creative things. But it's like all sort of strategized to be held just enough where it can continue and it kind of doesn't like drop off. And I've communicated, to friends or like employers. I say, I have this thing. It affects me in this way. And they're like, okay, like we understand, and they can extend grace or deadlines. But it's hard to see sometimes from the outside how much it's changed.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, because you're living that life, how different it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't you mention also that sometimes you'll like work from home or something like that?
Yeah, so I basically have changed my whole law practice. I just have a little solo shop here in my bedroom. I have this big and I change the kind of cases that I take. I don't usually take like my own clients because I'll have to take a whole case. And it's a lot of responsibility, like kind of to have my mind on a whole client's matter and to be responsible for the outcome. So what I do a lot of is writing for other attorneys, and they can send me like a small piece of their case, and I just need to focus on one thing, like, making the written product, and then I send it off and it's done. So it allows me to kind of break things
Yeah.
down into other tasks.
That's awesome. That's very smart. Yeah.
Thanks.
So you found a way to kind of fit your career to a way that you can manage.
Pretty much, yeah. That's what I'm trying to do, is just to keep the thread sort of going. It's weird for attorneys, like most attorneys, it's hard to continue being an attorney if you can't just like put all your effort into it. But
Yeah.
it's a way to do that.
Yeah. That's awesome. You're figuring it out. That's really cool. So, how do you feel like your faith and your chronic illness correspond? Because you obviously, when you started feeling more sick, you wanted to find ways to contribute to your community, and you were looking into different religions like Islam and obviously Christianity. So, how do you feel like being a Christian has impacted your health altogether?
Definitely for the better. For me, my Christian faith is like just this bulwark, this strong mountain that will never pass away, never fade. And I need that, because if I don't have something that is enduring, good, and has a place for me, then those kind of harder times, like why am I doing all this? It could fall apart at any moment, or like sometimes pain, or like disappointments, like I couldn't really be able to cope with all of those, or like the fear of them happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So what about your faith? Like that foundation, that solid mountain that you talked about, what are some of the truths that your faith give you that you can cling to in times of darkness?
I've been thinking a lot about kind of, in Catholic theology, they talk about redemptive suffering, which I didn't understand. Christ on the cross seems so confusing. How can suffering be good? But, I think it's that suffering can purify. And if I'm suffering and I don't know how to handle it, I can trust that word, that you're suffering, that it's good for your soul, that it's not forgotten in the eyes of God, and that if I can suffer with Christ, then even in my suffering, I can have the life of Christ in me. I think that's what I tell myself.
Yeah. Starting to believe it or trying.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm curious, what more does that mean that in your suffering you also have the life of Christ in you? How does that connect?
I think the linchpin is that if I'm suffering and I allow bitterness to accumulate, then I will become angry
Mm,
or perhaps despairing.
yeah.
But if I can continue to love through my suffering, then in that kind of like posture, that's when I imitate Christ.
Mm. That despite suffering, you're still loving, you're still kind.
Yeah, and
Mm.
kind. And it's weird because it's like, well, who's the object of my kindness? Who am I being kind towards? Is it to myself? Like, I mean,
Mm.
then I ask the question of like, do I have to do it? But the church for me kind of gives me like an object for my to like offer my suffering for. It doesn't have I don't have to see how it works. I can just trust that it does because that's what the church teaches me. It sometimes seems illogical that my suffering could be redemptive for the church, but me, when I think about myself as part of the body of Christ, I think that it is something that I can offer, just like
Yeah.
raising the flag on the flagpole or something. It's small, maybe unseen, but it happens in the form given by the religion.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Seth, your life has significance. Your suffering has meaning. And I don't think we're gonna know, why. I don't know think we're gonna know why, you know, a healthy young man like you would have a chronic illness. Why, you have to live your life differently. And I don't think that your suffering is gonna get any easier, and that's hard. That's hard to grapple with because it's like it's the classic question, why does God allow suffering?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think even, you being willing to raise the flagpole and you being willing to come on this podcast just to share your story, you being willing to put your poetry out there is so significant and important because I think the majority of humanity is like you. I think a majority of humanity is we have smaller circles, we have things that we do that feel more insignificant or small. But the reality is that they have meaning.
Mm.
And I think God is going to not unless some like shallow, like, oh, he's creating you to suffer so that he can use it for his glory. Like, I don't think it's some sadistic or shallow, like he's just using you. But I think that for whatever reason, I think that he can not only like draw you closer to himself, but kind of like you were saying, like make you a better person, like you're learning to be resilient and you're learning to grow despite pain. And I think even by, just continuing to pursue what you believe, to pursue meaning and to keep growing, like that honors God. That does. It honors God and that influences people around you.
That's beautiful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome. I genuinely believe that. Yeah. I hope you know that. Yeah, your life does have meaning and your suffering, I don't know what it is. God frustrates me so much. I hate suffering a lot. I'm such a baby. Like when I hear about theology and suffering stuff, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's like nice and whatever, but like I hate it.
Please.
But yeah, I think growing through it, and loving people through it it's so significant. And you're not alone too. Like if you're talking about the Psalms, how you're the daily, what is it, the daily?
The the Liturgy of the Hours.
Yeah, the liturgy of the hours has psalms and such, and I haven't read them, but there's psalms that don't end with praise and happiness. There's psalms that just ask God why he's doing what he's doing and accuse God of like, you left me, and so you're not alone in just wondering and hoping, like, well, I hope me raising this flagpole means something to someone. And I think it does. I think it does.
Thanks. Yeah. Just reading, the Psalms and thinking, oh, just being in the same shoes as David was, being part of the same lineage, I think. I think lineage was something that gave me a lot of consolation. Like, oh, you can be part of a lineage, and that made me feel less alone.
How was that?
Kind of like the idea of like the body of Christ, like everything that I do is offered as like a succession almost of what those who have come before have done. I think one of one of the biggest fears that I had, or maybe like one of the things that made me feel the most despairing, was that it's like whatever I'm going through is just happening in a vacuum. And so anything that helped me feel like I was part of a tradition or part of a history gave me a lot of consolation and a lot of peace.
That's beautiful. I'm really happy to hear that that helped you, genuinely. Well, do you have any like particular Bible verse or anything that you cling to in times of despair?
There's one from the book of Sirach. I don't know the chapter or verse, but it goes like this. It's like, "For great is the might of the Lord, by the humble is he glorified." And I was at a monastery in Kentucky the second year after I got sick, and I was watching the monks pray the Liturgy of the Hours, and I read that verse when I was in my room, and then I went back to pray, and I was watching the monks, and that verse kind of was playing in my head.
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. Well, do you have a poem you'd like to read with us? I'm not sure if you had anything prepared, so no pressure.
Sure, let's see. I've just been posting on Threads. It's like really fun.
I'm glad you found another hobby to
Like if I don't want to think about legal work or something, just
post on Threads. That's great.
I just made this one yesterday. "If I were healthy and rich, I'd have a gallivanting time, wooing dames with tender speech. Ah, 'twould be sublime. But poor and often sick, I live from hand to mouth. Yet rich am I in this, to know what truly counts."
Wow. Bars. That's beautiful. You got any more?
Yeah, I'll give you one more. I was DMing with someone for a while, and it was a nice exchange, and then it ended, and so I wrote this poem.
Oh.
"Your company was sweet, your parting bitter. I loved you through them both. Not always is it meet that sweetness should long linger. It can bless without an oath."
Wow. Follow Seth Noorzad, everybody. Well, do you have any last, like, a parting message for those listening? What advice would you give to those suffering, or what's one thing that you would want the world to know about your illness or your faith?
My parting message is don't work too hard, I think. That's like literally what I've learned. It's like, don't work too hard. Life isn't about work. It's good to work. But it's not what's most important. And I think sometimes in this world we're pressured to work too hard.
That's great. Don't overwork. Completely agree. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for sharing your story, Seth. We've really appreciated having you on.
Thank you, LA. Thanks for inviting me, and really enjoyed just getting to chat with you and talk about the faith and everything. So thank you.
Thank you so much for being a part of the Christians with Chronic Illnesses community. Please remember to follow, rate, and subscribe to the show. You can also follow us on our socials at CWCI Podcast. And if you're interested in sharing your story, please email us at cwcipodcast@gmail.com. If you are interested in contributing to the production of Christians with Chronic Illnesses, please see the show notes below for subscriptions starting as low as $1 a month, or email us for a more direct way to give. This show is hosted and produced by Ellie Sprague, and our incredible logo, thumbnail, and overall CWCI artist is Brianna Middleton. This show is intended for entertainment and encouragement purposes only. Please talk to your doctor before trying anything you hear on this show. Until next Monday. I present to you The Supernatural Case of an Accidental Time Traveler by my husband, Paul J. Trumba. It's a super interesting book. I'm not even much of a reader, but I read through this thing pretty easily. It's pretty large print, and it's about 500 pages. You can find it on Amazon. It's about Lou Barrett, who suddenly finds himself in, like, London in the 1800s. He has no idea how he got there, and he goes on to form a really hilarious and cute relationship with a witch, a wizard, and a brawler, and they go on to fight supernatural evils together. I highly recommend. It's definitely for mature readers, but it's a really good book, and you can find it on Amazon. Again, that's The Supernatural Case of an Accidental Time Traveler by Paul J. Trumbull.